morning. It's wonderful to see all these engaged Ann Arbor citizens. Welcome to the Washtenaw County League of Women Voters educational presentation on the 2 Ann Arbor ballot proposals that will be on the August 5th primary election ballot. My name is Catherine Murau, the president-elect of our chapter. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. We do not support or oppose political parties or candidates. The League's mission is to educate voters and defend democracy. We believe deeply that respectful sharing of views on community issues is vital to the functioning of American democracy. Tonight's panel discussion on the 2 ballot proposals is part of that mission, educating voters. Our moderator this evening will be League member Sue Smith. She will introduce the members of the panel and will explain this evening's format. Sue?
Thank you, Catherine. Good evening, everyone, on this warm Ann Arbor evening. Thank heavens for air conditioning. As Catherine mentioned, this is an educational presentation on the City of Ann Arbor's 2 proposals to amend the city charter. Proposal A is to amend the city charter by authorizing the transfer of city-owned property to the Ann Arbor District Library. Proposal B is to amend the city charter by repealing section 1.4, currently titled Center of the City. The wording of Proposal A and the accompanying Proposal B, as they will appear on your August 5th primary ballot, is displayed on the screen. And I believe you also received a copy when you came into the room. If there's anybody who didn't receive one and would like to have one, please raise your hand and we will pass them out. Our panel this evening consists of 4 panelists. 2 of them are supporting Proposal A and Proposal B, and 2 are opposing the proposals. Panels will present information on the 2 proposals and why they are supporting or opposing them. Supporting the proposals, and maybe you can raise your hand when I call your name, just so that everybody in the audience will know who is who. City Council Member Erica Briggs from the 5th Ward. Ann Arbor District Library Board Chair Molly Kleinman. Opposing the proposals are Rita Mitchell, President of the Ann Arbor Library Green Conservancy, and Ralph McKee, citizen supporter of the Center of the City. The format will be as follows. Each side will have 10 minutes to make their case. The 10 minutes has been divided between the 2 members on the team as they chose. 1 minute before the end of the 10 minutes, our lead timer will hold up the 1-minute sign. And our lead timer is right here up in front. When the 10 minutes is up, the timer will hold up the stop sign. Please stay within the time limit. The proponents will go first, followed by the opponents. Then each side will have 5 minutes to rebut the other. This time, 1 minute before the end of the 5 minutes, the lead timer will again hold up the 1-minute sign. When the 5 minutes is up, the timer will hold up the stop sign. Again, the proponents will go first, followed by the opponents. In order to make sure that everyone has opportunity to be heard, we will use the following procedure for audience questions and comments. There are 2 mics, a pro mic here and a con mic over there. If you have a question, you can use either mic. And it doesn't matter whom you're addressing on the panel. If you just have a question, you can go to either mic. Please wait until I recognize you before asking your question. If you are unable to come to the mic, please raise your hand and we will bring the mic to you. You will have up to 2 minutes to ask your question. 30 seconds before the end of your 2 minutes, our lead timer will hold up the 30 seconds sign. You know, the league is really picky about this. We want to make sure it's fair for everybody. When your 2 minutes is up, the timer will hold up the stop sign. Now, we don't have a cane, you know, to pull you off, but we're serious about our timing. I will recognize the panelist who wants to answer the question. You don't specify somebody specifically. Now, if you want to make a pro statement or a con statement, you need to go to the right mic. If you want to speak in favor, please use the pro mic. If you want to speak against, please use the con mic. The mics are labeled so you can tell whether you're at the right place or not. And again, if you're not able to come to the mic, raise your hand and a league member will bring the mic to you. I will alternate between the 2 mics. Please wait until I have recognized you before speaking. This way we can make it as fair as possible for both sides to be heard. Again, please limit your remarks to 2 minutes, and again, 30 seconds before your time is up. Believe me, 2 minutes goes by very quickly. 30 seconds before, our timer will hold up the 30-second sign. And at the end of 2 minutes, she will hold up the stop sign. Additionally, audience members may speak only once until everyone else who wishes to speak has had an opportunity to do so. The meeting will conclude no later than 8 o'clock. And are there any questions about what I have explained? Okay, great. Well, this is going to be a very interesting time. We appreciate the panel members coming to join us, and we will start with the pro.
Great. Hopefully we'll hold off on starting the time until the slides are up. All right. Thank you all so much for having us tonight and for being here to hear about the proposals A and B. I'm excited to tell you about our big vision for a new downtown library and why you should vote yes on A and B. Next slide, please. I'll get right to the point. It's time for a new downtown library. The building we have no longer meets the needs of the community or library operations. Just last year, we had almost 500,000 visits to the downtown library. That picture you see there is Tiny Expo. That's one of the many large expos that we have at the library. We had over 6,000 people through the doors in one day. It was cheek by jowl. And despite the fact that we expanded to the second floor, we still had to turn away 200 vendors. And that hurts our librarian hearts. We want to make space for all of the people who want to use the library and participate in our events. In addition to figuratively bursting at the seams, we are also literally bursting at the seams. The downtown library building is basically 3 buildings glued together, sometimes literally. And it's had a lot of problems with the spaces, systems, and structure, and we've known a lot of that for a long time. Just one example, all 3 sections of the building were designed and built before the Americans with Disabilities Act. We only have 1 public elevator in the whole building, and it's not big enough for all mobility devices. We also just recently learned that the 1990 edition wasn't built to plan, and water has been getting inside the building. And so we're about to have to spend $200,000 just to make sure that bricks don't fall on people. It's no longer a responsible use of public funds to keep this building limping along. Modern libraries are as much about spaces and services as they are about collections. I've been so impressed with the creativity of our staff in making this building work, but they could do so much more, and it could be so much more incredible for the community in a building designed for actually how we operate today. Next slide, please. All right, so we need a new library. The question is how. There was a millage vote in 2012 that did not pass, so we need to figure out a way to do it with no new taxes. The answer is to fund a new library building with the proceeds from development of housing above. The library is in an incredible location downtown. We know that we want to be there, and so do a lot of other people. Other cities have started doing this. What I'm showing you here are two examples, one of them in Chicago and one in New York. These are both libraries with housing above. This is also really popular here in Ann Arbor. The library does polling every couple of years, and we found 76% support for the idea of a new downtown library with housing above. Next slide, please. We have big dreams for this new downtown library. It has to be awesome. We want it to be a landmark, something that's worthy of this city that loves its library. So we have ideas for things like an exciting new kids area and outdoor play space, an auditorium big enough to hold our biggest events, which would be probably around 500 seats, galleries, business incubators, flexible meeting and event space, and above, multiple kinds of housing. We don't want just one kind of housing. We want to provide lots of different kinds of housing. We imagine working with multiple partners, including an affordable housing provider, a senior housing provider, artist or other workforce housing, and some market rate housing. We have to have the market rate because that's how we pay for the new library. Next slide, please. I wasn't sure about this idea at first, but ultimately what convinced me was a simple argument. Bigger lot, better library. We have big dreams, and if we have the chance to build across both our current site and the parking lot next door, we could do some really amazing things. We could build a world-class library worthy of this bookish city. We could create welcoming and joyful public spaces both inside and out, provide homes at a time when we desperately need them, and do it all without any new taxes. So now I'm going to hand it over to Erica, who's going to tell us about the hard work that the city has done to bring us to this point.
Thanks so much, Molly. So I hope you can see why we're so excited to be partnering with our award-winning Ann Arbor District Library to expand our civic commons and to improve our public spaces downtown. You can pass to the next slide, please. Public engagement and data is critical to all our public work. So I want to take a step back to explain why we're confident in taking this step forward with our community. Next. So as folks here know, in November of 2018, voters approved a citizen-led ballot initiative by 53% that required that all public spaces on the block where the Ann Arbor Library sit be held in perpetuity for urban park or civic center commons. The ballot committee actively urged voters to approve the proposal because it would, in part, preserve the possibility of a future civic center building with cafes, galleries, classrooms, exhibit space, etc. I'm so excited to be talking to you today about how we're bringing to life an expanded civic center that is aligned with both Ann Arbor's current needs and aspirations. Next. So our downtown library branch already serves as our community living room, but the library and the city have both heard that there's a desire for more downtown amenities, public space, and housing. Since 2018, extensive work has been done to better define a vision and determine how to best advance the public's desire for enhanced public spaces on this block and in the downtown overall. Today, we're able to draw upon a great deal of data and knowledge built across from the work of 3 city councils and lots of planning and discussions. Next, please. So following the passage of Proposal A in 2018, Council has made significant improvements in Liberty Plaza, our existing park and open space on the block. Our city administrator, Milton Dehoney, worked with the block partners to better understand ongoing issues and opportunities, and upon his recommendation, Council approved $100,000 in American Rescue Plan Act dollars to make immediate improvements. Sightlines were enhanced, trash pickup and cleanliness improved, social service agency partnerships strengthened, and most importantly, regular programming added for activation, courtesy of our Parks Department. Next, please. But one of the questions that our community has continued to struggle with since 2018, and really before, is what is the vision for the network of public spaces on this block? One of the key findings of the Center of the City Task Force, which was formed to advise Council, was that there is strong enthusiasm for a Civic Center Commons building with cafe, Wi-Fi, meeting space, archives. Sound familiar? The task force also recommended forging strong partnerships with existing block partners and negotiating agreements as opportunities arose in the future. Next. However, funding has always been and remains a key challenge. The parks millage is currently not sufficient to cover ongoing capital maintenance needs. So in the development of the 2023 Parks and Recreation Open Space Plan, the park staff asked residents to share how they wanted their current millage dollars to be used, and the answer was clear. 79% of respondents asked the city to invest our dollars in improving our existing parks, while only 45% favored developing a new downtown park on top of the parking structure. Next, please. However, the Council of the Commons, building off of the work of the Center of the City Task Force, developed a scope of work to guide design proposals for the site. If you're able to see that, you'll be able to see that the library proposes to check every box and more. In addition to building a state-of-the-art new library, as Molly mentioned, if proposal A and B passes, the result would be new outdoor open space, play areas for kids, gardens, the creation of adaptable event and performance space programmed and managed year-round by the Ann Arbor District Library in partnership with the community. And the project won't require any new taxes. Rather, it will be financed by building housing over the library, which is another top priority for our community. Taxes generated from the housing would be reinvested in the downtown and our community. Next, please. And how do we know that they're going to be able to do a good job? Well, not only have they already built award-winning buildings, they have a proven track record. They already serve as our commons for our community. This is a picture of the library serving as a warming center. It's where folks go in good times and bad. And they, next slide, please. They're also exceptionally skilled and well-suited to create programming. It's what they already successfully do. Next, please. Well, basically, it's vote yes on proposals A and B. It's all good. That's all it said.
Oh, there.
Yep.
There we go.
There it is.
All right, thank you. And now we will hear from those who are opposing the two proposals.
Good evening, I'm Ralph McKee, this is Rita Mitchell. We're both longtime Fifth Ward residents and regular library users. I have great respect for AADL and staff. Great branches, programming, and they've handled challenges with the downtown building. We've just heard all about the beautiful big new library building and all the wonderful things it will provide. But these proposals aren't really about the library. How do I know that? Because the library folks have said over and over they can build a great new library on their own site with no new taxes by building housing on top. The library director and city administrator said that's going to happen even if the proposals lose. So what are these proposals really about? There's more to unpack here than we have time for tonight. I'd encourage you to get on YouTube later and watch Elizabeth Nelson's video. I'll hit 3 big points. I attended last November's presentation by the library's director. He said a great new library could be financed on the current site by building housing above it. A feasibility study showed that. Other cities had too. I left that meeting supportive of that, a beautiful building on the current site. But the proposal now is quite different. The city would give the library the city-owned lot next door to the library lot worth $10 million or more for $1 to build another max-height tower of private housing. That is a giveaway. Again, the library director said the new library on the current site would have everything. So what extra would the city get? Compare the city's memo to the November presentation. The big new item, a tower of private housing, plus city use of some event space and a promise of unspecified amount of outdoor public space. That's it? In return for a $10 million value parcel. That proposal is the 2018 Core Spaces proposal, except this time the city won't get any money, let alone 10 million plus. That's a giveaway. Where would the value of the 10 million plus gift go? It ends up part of a sweetheart deal for the developer or the library coffers. The library has an 8 million surplus plus a permanent growing village, regularly generating more surplus, 2.5 million last year, and won't be affected by the Trump cuts. Sitting pretty, unlike the city. That's a giveaway. Next, the proposals in the campaign are deceptive. None of the promises in the Prop A ballot caption are in the amendment language. It just says the city can sell. No guarantees. I've heard some folks who are here tonight scream about other proposals for lack of specifics, but here there are none. It's trust us. And the Prop A ballot language promising the new library suggests it won't happen without the repeal. Misleading to the average voter, you be the judge. In November, Mr. Nyberger said that the problem was not square footage, but the hodgepodge of old additions. Then he described the new library vision: 4 floors, big auditorium, a cafe, topped by 10 floors of various types of housing, All of that was and is possible without the library lot. He said a possible land swap, trade the current site for the library lot, was interesting, but said, and I quote, "We're focused on our own property." So what happened? January 6th, City Administrator Mahoney said he'd been talking with the library. February 24, the press release. Slide, please.
Next one.
No, that's fine.
This one.
The same day, Mr. Nyberger said the larger the project, the more margin for development partners. Margin means profit. That's a giveaway. Council promptly approved the ballot proposals, a blitz, kind of like how the SI resort proposal started. The library board embraced the deal. Who wouldn't? Next slide, please. Ms. Kleiman here said the idea that there could be twice as much library was thrilling. That's what she was excited about. So the city is contributing $10 million plus to AADL so she can build a double-sized library. Wow, that wasn't in the press release. But remember, the library can even be double-sized on the current site. In an observer piece, and tonight, proponents are trying to spin this as win-win. Erica Briggs said, "This is not a betrayal, it's more a practical path to community aspirations." The aspirations of 27,000 voters in 2018 didn't include a high-rise. That's what Core Spaces proposed then. That option was voted down, even with the carrot of 10 million, because the voters wanted open space. Now, city government would just get $1. Mr. Mahoney said the public is frustrated. He's the guy refusing to sign the memorandum, absolutely essential for the library green here to solicit donors. The latest twist is the addition of new items in the postcard I just got, and which they've been describing earlier tonight. An art gallery, recording studios, rehearsal spaces, and more. What's next? A spa? Again, it's all possible on the current site anyway, without taking the city's balance sheet down $10 million.
Hi, I'm Rita Mitchell. I'm president of the Library Green Conservancy. Like Ralph, I also admire and use the services of the AADL. The Library Green Conservancy goal is to establish a central urban park and open space that's welcoming for everyone. A slide, yeah, perfect. The Library Green, the center of the city, shown on the map, this park systems planning map, is in the part of the Ann Arbor with the least amount of parkland and the greatest density of people. Some have blamed our all-volunteer nonprofit organization for the failure to implement the city charter and to establish a public park. I'd like the slide off, please. What they won't tell you is that stonewalling by City Council, led by the mayor, and City Administration, led by Milton Mahoney, is responsible for the slow progress after the voters spoke. Their actions showed a serious lack of respect for the 27,000 who said yes to an urban park. Why disrespect and defy the voters? The stonewalling started before the 2018 election, with the mayor trying to add an illegally biased ballot action. Then, in 2020, council offered viable ideas for use of revenue from surface parking to support the planning ideas from two groups appointed to develop plans. What happened? Refusal. The biggest barrier was the city's refusal to sign a Memorandum of Understanding, an MOU, to support fundraising. This agreement shows potential funders that the project is acknowledged by the city, that donations and grants will be used properly, that the city supports the project. The Tree Line Trail, the skate park, and city projects here and everywhere have MOUs. The mayor and Mr. Mahoney know well that MOUs are crucial to successful fundraising. Our reasonable MOU request was deliberately ignored. We experienced bureaucratic obstruction, much of it petty, regarding demonstration use of the space for placemaking. An example, refusal to remove surface parking. Refusal to place the center of the city project on the park's queue to finalize an RFP for design. Instead, staff were assigned to work on Bicentennial Park and never circled back to follow up on our RFP. In 2023, the then assistant city manager, who wrote a dismissive report that food truck events there would be expensive, painted a false picture designed to show failure. Yet the city supports food trucks at farmers market. Despite the stonewalling, we raised significant funds. We pledged $70,000 to use with the city's $40,000 to pay for design. But despite repeated requests, the mayor and administrator would not even acknowledge our pledge and continued to ignore our initiation of an MOU. Is that respect for voters? To sum up, the mayor, city council, and city administration defied the will of the voters to establish the center of the city, the urban park. In March, they decided to overturn the 2018 outcome with this August selection, and now the mayor says a park there was always a fantasy. Taken together, the city government's actions on this issue have badly eroded trust. That's where we are. For a city of this size, Ann Arbor is woefully lacking in central placemaking event space that's lauded elsewhere. So we can have the slide, please. Detroit, Royal Oak, next slide, Plymouth, recent recipient of an MEDC award for a bandstand. Chelsea and Celine have or are working on central areas for people to gather for casual and programmed events. Next slide. Among many large model cities, Boston, it's green. Next slide, Cincinnati, it's all hardscape, are successful parks on top of parking structures. Next slide. The center of the city, oops, not a blank one, please, thank you. Center of the city offers a great complement for many activities for which the AADL takes pride. Where will the new residents of these high rises go when not at home? We want to provide outdoor open space right next door. Rather than repeal the charter amendment, working together with the city and library to create flexible use of space and activities would benefit the city. Simply put, voter trust in election outcomes has been eroded by the stonewalling by city officials. Voters rightly expected to follow through. To date, the mayor and council
Finish that sentence later.
Timer? Okay, sorry, I was looking down at my.
She's fast.
All right, well, thank you so much. All right, now we're going to start with a rebuttal, so we'll be back to the proponents again. 5 minutes.
Thanks. So we've heard a few claims here. One that I think is important to address is the claim that there are no guarantees that this building will have mixed-use elements. That's an important one, right? But it's false. You had the amendment that was up on the screen earlier, and since some folks haven't read it, I just want to make sure it's clear. These proposals require that the parcels be sold to the library only to the Ann Arbor District Library for the purpose of building a mixed-use development that includes additional library services, housing, retail, and programmable open space. So Proposal B is contingent on Proposal A passing. So this is in the charter amendment. This is what you're voting for. So there's a guarantee there. The question that this proposal overturns the will of the people. I tried to, in my initial presentation, make sure that we laid out kind of the process that we got here by, and so I don't want to rehash that. But the passage of Proposals A and B replaces vague language that enables the city to actually develop and finance the type of project supporters themselves advocated for in 2018. In 2018, Will Hathaway and Alan Haber were up at a table just like this one and participated in the League of Women Voters Forum. So I want to share with you what Mr. Hathaway stated. He said that voting yes keeps the land for public purpose and allows for flexibility. If we determine that the costs are prohibitive, we can adjust. The Civic Center could be reconfigured to serve multiple purposes. The city and the library could decide to partner on a facility. So the question of whether or not the cost of this, that this is a giveaway for $1. This is a partnership with our public partners on the block to be able to advance an important priority in our community. These projects are not free. We've already heard that taxpayers are not interested in paying a millage for increased services. They're not interested in building a park. The design proposal itself would have been $40,000 of city funds. So what we have here is a partnership that we can work with the library to actually build the type of facility that folks are saying that they want. And in terms of what these types of urban parks cost, the city of Dearborn just went through a proposal like this. It was $30 million to build some urban parks in their space. So What we have here is our ability to actually build an incredible urban civic center.
I've got a couple things here.
Please.
Good. So just a couple of points. The first about the library's budget. There is no magical surplus. We have a capital reserve fund, which is a requirement for a healthy public institution. That's what we have. Our millage is not growing. Our millage is the same as it ever was. It fluctuates both up and down with property values. Just to make those finances really clear, in terms of the question of public space, 10,000 square feet of the parking structure are not buildable. It was designed intentionally to hold a public plaza. Any project that goes in there, whether it was core spaces, whether it's going to be the library, is going to have, at minimum, a 10,000 square foot public plaza. But if it's built and designed and programmed by the library, you have a reliable partner that is accustomed to dealing with the kinds of challenges you get with a downtown space. The last point I want to make is the question of it being a giveaway. The library is a public body. I'm an elected official. All of my fellow board members were democratically elected by the entire city. We are a public body, and so is the city. And this would be a transfer from one public body to another public body. There's no giveaway there. Anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised by the suggestion that this library is just too nice that's being proposed. That one, too many amenities. I put up the list of design that actually the Council of Commons put together themselves, and this was the list that they had. We can check every box, and obviously there are a lot of other interests that we have in our community as well. The library has been hearing clearly from their users as well. So this has come out in a variety of different planning processes, and I feel really excited that we're able to be on the precipice of being able to move forward such an exciting partnership project.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I have a couple of things to say. First, I think I heard right that Ms. Briggs here is saying essentially that there is a guarantee by the ballot caption. I think that's flat wrong from a legal perspective. That caption is not binding. The only thing that's binding is what's in the charter. And the charter, the actual language of the charter amendment simply says that the city is authorized to sell the property to the Ann Arbor District Library. None of those guarantees that you're referring to, though that ballot caption is not binding, period. I could be wrong, but I don't think
You're
I am.
wrong. It's not in the caption.
That's what that is. The second item that I want to address is that the giveaway part of it, I'm not accusing that the library would somehow waste the money. That's not my point. And I recognize that you're elected officials too. But the point is, the city is not in what we call the best financial shape. The library is in very good financial shape. You guys have done a great job. Here, though, you're really not needful of an additional $10 million on your balance sheet, and the city is in need of that on its balance sheet. And if you can do exactly what you said you could do on the original site, everything, why do you need the extra asset worth $10 million or more? The other point I want to go to is the space issue. There have been a wild series, I shouldn't say that, there have been a lot of different views of space here. The current library is about 100,000 square feet. It's apparently not efficient right now. I'd agree with that. So if you had a new design, you could probably do more in 100,000. The feasibility study that you had about the current site is 153. That's at least 50% bigger. The double size, which you suggested in your last board meeting, that's 200,000 square feet. That's huge. And yet, Mr. Doheny and the library director said maybe we could do this all on one floor across both lots. That's about 70,000 square feet. I'd like to get some clarity on that. And it doesn't seem, if you had 150, you could do everything that you'd want to do.
I just want to add that the library and the city are separate governmental units, and the boundaries of the library district are outside the city of Ann Arbor. So there is some difference there, that the city of Ann Arbor is essentially contributing more to the library in this case. And also, we have, as the Library Green Conservancy, and those that have worked on the volunteer boards or task forces, have really worked to ask for a public process, and we have felt resistance. That was a serious problem, and that is an issue that has interfered with our progress, and that was really my point in what I raised. That's it.
Okay,
I can
I
answer.
realize that there might be more that panelists might like to say, but we are going to move on to the audience participation. If it turns out that we finish with audience questions before 8 o'clock, then we could come back, and if the panelists want to have another opportunity to speak, we will give them to do that. But we have all these people who have come up, and so we want to give them an opportunity. So I want to remind the audience that if you have a question, you can go to either mic. You're going to have to make a line. The first person and the lead member will control the mic. If you want to speak for or against, then you need to go to the appropriate mic. Now, as you can see, there are a lot of people here, so we're going to really be strict about the timing. Each person who speaks has a limit of 2 minutes, and our timer's going to let you know when there's 30 seconds left, and when the 2 minutes is up, and she holds up the stop sign, you'll have to stop, even if you're not through. And you can only speak once, and so everybody else who wants to speak has had a chance to do so. And please be sure and go to the right mic. Okay, we will start with the pro. Okay, I recognize you.
Hi, I'm Sandy Serenielzer, and I have a question about the proposal that I was just up. It has 2 addresses. So one on Fifth Avenue or one on Division. Is it both, or why is there an or there? Is that just 2 separate addresses for the same piece of property?
Okay, I'm asking if the pro would like to answer that.
For that. I'm
City responsible for the proposal.
Where's the or? I can't see it. There's
You don't have a
people.
copy of the proposal?
Oh wait, I don't have it in front of
It's on the
me.
screen.
Yeah, but there's a person between me and the screen.
Okay, would somebody bring
wanna
a
see
handout,
this?
please?
Great,
And
thank
this
you.
down so that,
She gave us.
each of the panels.
Where's the or?
Could you give us
Oh.
ours too? So
And I apologize, I am not, I believe that that's probably the same address, the same parcel, but I am not 100% sure. I'm looking at Susan
Okay,
just in case she happens to know addresses magically in her head.
Guessing it's the tail end of Library Lane.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
I missed that.
Oh, it's the tail end of
Yeah, so
Library
that's
Lane.
just that piece
So
down
it's,
Right.
it is considering that entire parcel, yes.
Right, so why does it say or? Sounds like you could sell one or the other.
That's a good question. I apologize that I am not, I don't want to give you an incorrect answer.
But you'll get back to the league on it.
Absolutely.
We will.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Con?
Thank you. My name is Tom Stallworth, by the way. I'd really like to thank the library for last year's participation in the city's bicentennial. For those who don't know, last year was our bicentennial. I was on the city's committee. I was also co-chair of something we call Smart Tours, which are self-guided smartphone tours that us historians created, and the library was a big partner in that, and the library hosted, so those are going to live on for a long time. And I'm very appreciative of the library's efforts in that, and also the library had 200 releases of their own that are just phenomenal. Go to the library website and search that out. So thank you very much. I would also like to mention that I give myself permission to love the library, love the work they do, and still vote no on this proposal. I'd like to ask a question of Chair Kleinman. On your recent podcast, Mr. Nyberg repeatedly stressed that the current binding downtown downtown can't satisfy the demand for booking rooms. He said when we did this analysis, we found there were 83% of days when there was contention for space in the downtown library. So basically, most days we have more demand for the spaces in the library than we have available. We turn away nonprofit and governmental bookers who already have a date in mind. Routinely, like every week, people are asking us, they've already decided they're going to have their public engagement on this date and they need to have that downtown library. We have 0 space. All of our rooms are booked, every single one of them. So your co-host on that podcast, Jess Letaw, echoed that. Yet in a recent survey, 95% of respondents said they could get a room on the date and
Just take
time
the
desired
microphone.
on their first try.
Your
In
time is
fact,
up.
seconds.
Oh,
the
30
person
seconds.
explaining the survey to you at your April board meeting said that you should be proud of that. Those two statements seem very inconsistent. How do you reconcile those?
Sorry, I got distracted by the time thing. The two statements, can you just repeat what's inconsistent?
That in the recent survey, 95% of respondents said they could get a room on the date and time desired on the first try.
So part of that is about who is being surveyed. There are multiple ways that you can access meeting rooms in the library. One of them is through a system where people can reserve rooms through the library website without any intervention. And that's how individuals, smaller groups might get a room for something like a sewing circle or a political meeting. But then we also have nonprofit partners. We work with nonprofits and government organizations all over the county. And they often want our bigger rooms. And those are the rooms that are more often unavailable because of other events and other programming. So they aren't the ones who are surveyed in the numbers that you're talking about for the 95% who got what they wanted. That doesn't include the government partners that were routinely and other organizational partners, nonprofit partners that were routinely turning away.
Thank you.
Ross?
Right, so I have a question. Mr. McKee, you've mentioned repeatedly about the city's financial trouble and the $10 million giveaway, as you say. So I would note that the building on top would pay a lot of taxes, which would go to the city. And so that would be partially offset. But I guess what I'd like to ask is, would you be open to selling the lot then to a developer to build for $10 million, to build a building there to offset and help the city's finances? Thank you.
Mr. McGee, did you want to respond?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And the answer, I think, is twofold. One, the voters wanted a lot of open space and believe that that asset should be applied in that way. If the city continues to hold the asset and a park eventually turns out to be not desired or not successful, the city could sell it at that point. At this point, though, once you sell it and the library has it and builds, that the original possibility that was desired for that park is gone. And so I think that is a key consideration, and I don't think that the public at this point has had a meaningful opportunity to address what it really wanted because of the city stonewalling. I agree that at some point you would have to think about, does the city really in that bad of a need of cash to sell it? I don't think we're there yet. That doesn't mean that you transfer the asset to another entity that is way better financial condition and have the city not be able to have that on its balance sheet. I think that's just responsible fiscal management.
Okay, Ann?
Hi. I received 2 flyers this week about these issues. Maybe some of you did too. The first one was from the Library Green Conservancy. It contained actual facts about the issue. No politicians are pictured. Contrast this to the other flyer I received from supporters of the downtown library. It features headshots of Ann Arbor's political machine. 3 of the state representatives pictured do not have the library in their district. Jennifer Conlon doesn't even live in the city of Ann Arbor. All of them are telling me how to vote. The flyer contains bullet points of possible outcomes for when the library lot is privatized and the library is tucked inside a private apartment or condo building. Thousands of dollars were spent on yard signs, 8.5 by 11 glossy mailers, and door knocking. Ask yourselves, Why are the mayor, his council, and their state rep allies pouring time and cash into pushing a ballot measure for the well-funded library, which has other options? And it isn't even part of city or state government. Why is this coalition so eager to subvert the will of the voters and hand over land that voters designated for a park? The Ann Arbor District Library and also the city have the power to do a bond issue to build a new library. This is the normal path. Just last week, the city approved 146 to study the approval of 146 million in bonds for parking structures in a private development. Why can't a bond issue be done for this? And my question is to Ms. Briggs and Ms. Hyman, why is Liuna Local 499, a Lansing labor union, listed on this flyer?
I'm going to address a couple of things there first. That flyer unfortunately does not contain facts. In fact, the diagrams that you see there, the diagram of the flyer put out by the Library Green Conservancy has a diagram of what it says a proposed large library building could be. It's physically impossible, that diagram, in multiple ways. Like defies physics, geography. As I mentioned, there's a 10,000 square feet of the plaza that you can't build on. It's also impossible to build many floors above Library Lane. It looks like one big box because that's meant to be scary.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you for a minute. Are you answering the question that she asked?
Sure. So I can do that too. Labor unions have an interest in large building projects, and this would be a large building project, and so they're excited about it. I don't think there's anything more nefarious than that. I know that there are several other unions that are going to be coming out with support for this because they care about Ann Arbor, they care about the library. The library's staff is also represented by unions. I don't think there's anything more nefarious than that going on. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
I just would like to add a little bit to that. You know, I'm not sure when unions became under attack in our community. I thought we were people.
I'm going to interrupt you. That's fine. Because I'm sorry, but we're going to have to stick to the issue at hand. So, Pearl, the next person.
Hi, my name is Eric Goldberg, and I've lived in Ann Arbor since 2021, and I'm pro-union. One of the reasons that we decided to relocate to Ann Arbor is because of the amazing library system here. I'm playing the summer game for the first time this year, and it's been a great opportunity to talk to people about these proposals while I'm biking through their neighborhoods and playing the summer game. And a lot of people I'm talking to think this is awesome. It doesn't cost us any taxes, unlike the counter proposal from 2018, which would only be possible with raising a millage or seeking out mysterious private donors, which never really materialized. So I just wanted to give you some context for why I'm here. I'm so excited about this possible library. I want to address a couple of points that Mr. McKee made. One is calling this a giveaway. As a previous commenter said, that really ignores tax revenue. We talk about fiscal responsibility. A one-time $10 million sale doesn't have anywhere near the effect on the city budget as perennial property tax revenue would for the entire lifetime of the city. So it's just a drop in the bucket. Secondly, the proposal from 2018 kind of locked up the ability for the city to even make that kind of sale. So it's kind of like an impossibility, it seems, because the ballot language says it has to be a public park. So how would we get $10 million there? So there's literally, it's like dead fallow space right now. It's just a parking lot. So, and I think the other thing that's interesting is that this point about ballot language, Mr. McKee said in his statement, and I quote, that the 2018, I paraphrase, that the 2018 ballot measure was for blocking a high-rise. That's interesting. I think the ballot measure language said it was for establishing a city park. I think it's kind of revealing that in your position, it's actually was about blocking a high-rise. So maybe that was more close to the truth of why that sort of had its political backing. And finally, I think micromanaging the library plans about this many square feet, this space,
Okay. Thank you.
they're good at what they do. We should trust the library.
All right.
So is there a question there?
We're up to the
They
comments.
can make comments.
Yeah, just a minute, please.
Hello, I'm Edith Crowe, and
I wanted to say how very concerned I am about democracy. Democracy in our nation and democracy right here at home. I love libraries. I taught for 42 years at Washtenaw Community College, which I consider community colleges across the nation democracy's colleges. I'm very aware that the Ann Arbor Public Library or District Libraries Board is elected. And I'm very aware that 27,000 people who were talked to in a grassroots fashion voted to have that part at the center of the city. What I do not understand is why the city of Ann Arbor, the council, and the Ann Arbor District Library Board hasn't worked with the Library Conservancy. They represent a huge number of Ann Arborites who thought very carefully about the space and worked for it. And it troubles me that throughout, before voting in 2018, right after the resistance to funding the Library Conservancy, I'm so sorry that we haven't had a greater vision of a plaza at the center of our city for dialogue and for gathering. And it's very important to me that whoever completes this project honors the democratic roots of this project.
Okay,
Is that a question as well, in terms of the
she
democratic
didn't
nature?
ask a question. Okay, we'll go to the pro, please.
Hello, my name is Max Skirbo.
There was a question.
Question is why haven't you worked?
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. So I think it's a good question, and I'm happy to answer that. Democracy is of course important. We're under attack right now. We should all be very concerned about what's happening in our nation. Concerns that democracy is under attack here, however, are unfounded. What you're seeing is a forum, a public forum here today, a vote. We're talking about a vote that's coming up in August, right? And there seems to be, some confusion or certain selective memory here around what the original charter amendment said. I've tried to explain it in my initial comments. It did not say simply an urban park. It said or civic center commons. Now, we have been listening to the public and doing a public process for the past 7 years, and in fact, we've gone back to the public and
worked with the Library Conservancy.
And,
that's my
of course,
question.
and yes.
My question is, why not?
And we have, in fact, so the center of the city, so the Library Green Conservancy has served on the Council of the Commons. I served with Rita for 4 years, or almost 4 years on that. They are involved in the center of the city, the task force that came up with the recommendations. So all of that information that I shared, our nonprofit partners or our advocacy interest in the community have been engaged in that. But while there are also special interests in our community, and this is a valuable one to discuss today, there is everybody else in our community as well. So you heard me sharing statistics that we've done surveys of our park users, right? We need to pay attention to what our public desires. And while I appreciate this, 79% wanted the city to invest in current parks. Only 45% wanted a new open space there. However,
Well, I think now
park
you're
survey.
going beyond answering the question because she was just concerned about whether the Conservancy worked with the city, and you answered that very well, so we'll go on now. Okay, Pro.
Hello, my name is Mark Skirbo. I consider myself to be a very informed voter. I've voted every election I have been able to, and I research every issue. So in 2018, when I heard about the possibility for a downtown park, as someone who lived on the northeast side of Ann Arbor, I thought, oh, this is great. I love parks. I love open space. I didn't know at that time that the city had already had a contract in place to build a housing which was desperately needed in 2018 and now. And I didn't realize that there's another public park 1 block away from the library that's incredibly poorly utilized. And as a reader of Gene Baker's, I understand why that space is poorly utilized. It takes programming and special focus to bring a public space to life. So when we think about the civic commons, I guess my question is, why is the idea of partnering with the library or allowing the library, which is very good at engaging the public with activities, with events, with programming, allowing the library to utilize a common space and get a larger library facility over both lots? Why is that not in line with the 2018 vote? And as a voter, as one of those many voters who voted in favor of the Prop A amendment, why am I not allowed to change my view or like make my desires more nuanced? Thank you.
So I guess we're talking to the opponents.
I hope you will make your views known as you did just now. And this has always been an attempt to have a public process. I gave some examples of other places where there are these central areas, and they are thriving. They contribute to their communities, and they are enjoyed, and there's value from what's called edge development of businesses surrounding them, so that there's an investment that builds on itself. And they are all, as far as, or most of them, are a public-private kind of partnership, and that was what we have sought, and that has been resisted. And I'm sorry to say that kind of thing. I don't want to, but that is what I experienced. That we did not get support to move forward with what 27,000 people voted to do, and we've been trying. So I would hope you'd join us in continuing that kind of thing. It is a different kind of park. It is not a passive green recreational type of park. An urban park does require programming. It's a different animal. But we know from watching Detroit, in particular, the best park in the United States for 3 years in a row, Campus Martius, went from what was a pretty decrepit area to one that's been revitalized. And yes, there's been a lot of investment in it, but yes, there's been a lot of benefit from it as well for that community. We think that this could be the same kind of thing in Ann Arbor, and we would love to work with the library. It's perfect. It's the kind of thing that draws people in addition to the bus service. There's a lot of activity around there that could be improved, and we think that we can do it.
Probably that is a sufficient answer. Thank you. Okay, we'll turn to the Mark, please.
Yes, my name is Dr. Lauren Sargent, and what Dr. Croak said about democracy basically took the words out of my mouth. I'm also UAW Local 6000 retired, and I am not anti-union. So I have observed stonewalling, foot dragging. The initial ballot language in 2018 was actually rejected because it was drafted at the behest of Mayor Taylor, and it was kind of a "have you stopped beating your wife yet" type of question. And also, I'm also the recipient of years of research, design, and methodology, and the questions are everything. But what I'm very concerned about is I do see an erosion of democracy here. The citizens voted for this and have not been heard, ever. And at a time when we've got autocracy descending upon us from on high, it is more important than ever that we respect it here. And also statements like, oh, this is a fantasy. Well, heck, these things exist all over the world. They're called plazas, piazzas, town squares, commons, whatever. And they exist here in our state. And that's really kind of offensive. And that needs to stop. That's not partnership. That's not dialogue. That's not listening to your citizens. And I've lived here for 41 years and admired Ann Arbor for before that. And it's very sad to me that we're investing in trying to undo something that the people of this town voted for. And I would like to see it. And also the mention of housing is a little bit deceptive. You talked about Inwood. Inwood's housing is 100% permanently affordable housing. That's not what we're talking about here. And no new taxes, that reminds me of Bush. I think we're better than that.
All right, I'll go to the pro mic now, please.
Hi, my name's Molly Ging. I have lived in Ann Arbor for 48 years. I grew up going to the downtown library. Just the other day, somebody asked me, what was it like doing the summer games when I was a kid? And it wasn't the summer games. We did have a reading program, and at the end of the program, when you read your however many books you were supposed to read, you got the privilege of going to the downtown library and watching The Sound of Music in one of their rooms in the basement. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen The Sound of Music every summer, because it was one of the greatest privileges of my life to spend that time at the library. So I don't have a question. I just want to offer my support. After that last vote, I kicked myself for not getting out there and supporting the no vote on the last vote. So I'm here to offer my support to yes on A and B, because we need better programming, we need housing, we need a bigger space. And honestly, I sat there and listened to them talk about how all private funding was going to be used to build this park downtown, and I just don't want to see a parking lot in perpetuity. So I'm here to support you. Thank you very much for all you do.
Okay, the con mic.
Hello, my name's Alice Carter, and I've lived here almost 65 years. And my children enjoy the library because they could take out more books than they could at Borders. But I'm here because this is feeling like pig and poke, if you know that idiom. Where you go to buy a pig, and when you poke it, it's not a pig. And that's kind of how I'm feeling recently about City Council. They're offering things that really don't seem to be clear, and they're asking people to vote on it. So I would really like to see the pause. I'm also on Plan the Pause group. I feel that the city is not being honest about interviewing people and having discussions. I think this is a wonderful forum, but it obviously should have taken place many weeks ago, if not months ago, and maybe many times, so people can be heard and ask questions. So I'm pro-library, but I'm also pro-park, and I'm hoping the park can stay as it was initially designed.
All right, thank you. Pro?
Hi, my name is Adam Juskevich. I was born and raised in Ann Arbor and grew up going to the library. I'm really excited to support this. I know the new library will be a wonderful addition to our downtown and to our broader library community. It meets so many of our needs. It's a win-win-win. And it's clear this will accomplish what voters were sold in 2018 without raising taxes. I'm looking forward to voting yes. I do have one question. For the pro side, can you talk more about the idea of the library having one large floor for programming? What kinds of events could one large floor across both parcels accommodate that one parcel could not?
Absolutely, thank you. So I think there's maybe been some misunderstanding about this conversation of a second floor that would span both sites, that would bridge Library Lane. There's a lot of advantages to a very large second floor, but that wouldn't be the whole library. There would absolutely be library on the ground floor. There may or may not be library spaces above, because we'd love to have some room to grow. But the benefits of the very large floor, so we have these large expo events in the library where we have thousands and thousands of people come in a single day. And to be able to lay that out all across a single level makes it more accessible and usable for our visitors. It also, in regular operations, makes it easier to secure and easier to staff when it's a single floor with good sight points. And the accessibility benefits also exist on that when it's just in use as a library accessing collections and other spaces. So there are a lot of things that you can do if you imagine, like, the way, I don't know if anyone's been to the downtown library lately, or been to any of the expos that we have, but we are very crammed in, and then maybe you remember to go upstairs or downstairs to try and get at more programming. it's a lot easier to see and take advantage of everything that's on offer when it's all on one floor. So there's a lot of benefits to the single floor, but that would not be the whole library. I think that's a misinterpretation of something that either Mr. Nyberg or Mr. Dohoney said.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Con.
My name is Odile Huguenot-Weber and I am French, but I've lived in Ann Arbor for 35 years. And I think when the people voted for the Commons, it's because they were afraid that Ann Arbor will become a very big city with buildings everywhere and no central focal park for the children to go and for people to meet. And that's exactly what's happening now. You can see the city has a vision of New York City. We had a vision of Central Park, which was very different. Many people say people here didn't want a park, but that's not true. Because even so, the city has blocked us all the way from putting fountain, or for putting table and bench, or even a playground. What we've done is we've done a volunteer garden. And over 20 people have worked in this volunteer garden. We have many flowers in it, you will see. It's on the left of the escalator when you come in towards the lot. And it has a beautiful mural on the wall that the city designer did for us. Anyway, it's full of flowers and many butterflies and insects are coming. So we all worked together and it was wonderful. Even so, the city blocked us all the way. We did what we could. Thank you.
That's part down, please. Yes. Would you sit down, please?
Ann Arbor News didn't show
Okay,
that.
Crow.
Hi, I'm Lynn Borstead, and I am on the board of the Library Green Conservancy. I want to start out by saying nobody's anti-library here.
Right.
It's really not appropriate to say that we're the con side and opposed to all of this, because that's not true. We do think, though, that there's a fair amount of disingenuous information being put out, that we would like the voters to be able to think more clearly about what this is about and make an honest decision.
This
and
is
I
the
think
pro
that
mic.
there's,
I'm still the pro mic.
You should be on
Should be on this side.
Are you speaking in favor of the amendment?
I have a question
Okay, well,
for
you need to ask the
the
question.
pro side. So among the many aspirational features being promised by these proposals is the outdoor public space. Descriptions have included outdoor gathering and performance space and a kids' outdoor play area. And Molly, you said something about there's 10,000 square feet of unbuildable space. The entire lot is 34,000 square feet. And that's more like a usable space. 10,000 square feet is less than the size of an Olympic swimming pool, so it's not a really big space. Anyway, my question is, given that the Ann Arbor District Library Board was negative to the point of hostility toward the center of the city, and given that City Council did everything possible to obstruct development of a gathering and performance space on the center of the city, why should the voters have any trust whatsoever that this open space is going to come to fruition?
Well, I'm not going to accept the premise of that question. There's some givens in there that are not true. But as to why the voters should trust the library, we have a very long track record of building beautiful, functional public spaces. In the last 20 years, we've built 3 new branch libraries, Mallett's Creek, Pittsfield, and Traverwood. These libraries are in harmony with their environments. There are features like green roofs and bioswales, many, many insects and flowers, and they are also very, very well used, inviting spaces, and they serve the community in a wide variety of ways as libraries, but also as warming shelters, as cooling locations. When there were extensive power outages a couple of years ago, it was the libraries that partnered with the city to make safe spaces for people to charge their phones, do their work. The library has been an incredible partner to the city for many years, and we have been a trusted institution for our community. We built all 3 of those branches with no additional tax funds. We did it with our existing millage. We are a responsible steward of funds. We are a responsible steward of space, and we have an extraordinarily long track record. And if you still don't trust us, that's maybe you don't feel as great about libraries as you think you do.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that an important point in this is that the charter amendment itself says there will be programmable open space within it. So that is a guarantee that's written into the ballot initiative that you're voting on or before August 5th. Also, just a point around the open outdoor play space for kids. So 66% of when the library went out and surveyed their Ann Arbor residents around what sort of amenities they're interested in seeing, 66% wanted to see outdoor play space for kids, which is something that, this is not only, it's important across institutions. So, I think Molly spoke well to this in terms of the trust that we have in an institution and their proven track record in our community. I'm not sure any institution, but I would love to say the city is it, but I'm sorry. I think, the library really beats us in terms of public trust and their all the amazing things they're doing in the community.
All right, thank you.
Can I make a correction?
No.
I'm sorry. Can I make a correction, please? Erica just said that the ballot proposal guarantees the public open space. That's not what's going in the charter, and there's nothing in the charter language.
Well, this is the language that's going to be in the charter.
It doesn't have
No,
quotes
no,
around it.
that is not.
Absolutely
No.
no quotes around it. So it's not the charter.
I'd like to respond to that too.
We have a slide of the
This is
charter.
I think a really crucial question, and if I'm wrong, I hope somebody corrects me, but the resolution that dealt with this is the ballot caption. That is what people see when they go on there.
Right.
The charter is changed. It's section 14.3 or whatever. If I had time, I'd pull, and Wi-Fi, I'd pull it up. And all it says is that the city's authorized to sell to the library. And I think that's correct. And I think maybe at this point we ought to stop talking about that on either side until somebody is dead sure. But I'm 98% sure of that.
What do you think the library is going to do with the
You're right in
land?
that many times.
That's a different question.
Excuse me, and you're right that in many times, the proposal that people see when they go to vote is not the full story.
That's correct.
But I think we need to set that aside for now,
All right.
and we'll go to the con in terms of whether people are for or against.
That was a con question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
There were 2 con questions in a row.
It's just a question.
She was at the pro night.
She was gone.
All right, let's not waste time.
She has
Okay,
to
Mr.
question.
Faber. Go ahead. They're being up. Go
Do I
ahead.
get to go?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Alan Haver. I was involved in the original drafting of the city charter amendment. I came to Ann Arbor in 1936, and I have a little perspective on the town. Back when it was annarbor.org, now it's annarbor.com, like the University of Michigan. It's umish.com, no longer umish.edu. There's been a lot of deception going on. When this resolution was put forward in 2009, the city refused to hear it. We had to have a special meeting even to be heard. Once the library the library center of the city task force was appointed, they made a number of recommendations that the cars should be off. There should be a partnership of all the people around there. The people should have a role in the development. None of that was done. The city manager opposed all of this. We've never had the opportunity actually to develop what the people voted for. The city has been against it. When we had a council of the commons and it had division, you, Erica, said, well, let's have outside consultants come and help us see what should be the next steps. Now you've forgotten all that when you dissolved what was to be the public opportunity. This is a dishonest process. And if it was in any way honest, the vote would be in November 2026, when there's a big turnout. Not in the least turnout time in Ann Arbor history, when there's a city policy never to do August elections in the off-side term. This is not an honest process. I'm very sorry to hear. You should vote no and and there's nothing promised in all this except imagination and dreaming.
Okay, let's try to help us understand what the proposals would do as opposed to...
I'd be glad to talk more.
Being happy or not happy with the city council. Okay, Pearl.
Hi, my name is Maggie Halpern. I have lived in Ann Arbor for 15 years. I moved here for my ex-husband to go to graduate school at the University of Michigan. I've always thought that one day I'm going to start a club of other people like me. There's a lot of us. I don't have a question. I have some points in favor. Hopefully I will say them in a way that there's some sort of through line. I don't think that this is threatening our democracy. We are following our democratic process. We're going to have it put to a vote. I do think, and this has come up from some other people, there are many people in the community who felt like the amendment establishing the city, the center of the city was specious, and they feel hoodwinked. And there have been some other comments and questions.
That's ridiculous.
That you can't.
Let her talk, come on.
I'm saying what people I know have told me they feel. You can find them and tell them they're ridiculous. Thanks. Now I've lost my train of thought, and that's going to take away my seconds. Great. Is there a process to pause when you've been interrupted? Can I reclaim my time?
I'll give you an extra 30 seconds.
Can we throw out disruptive people?
Please, will everybody please be quiet except the person
I think what's at issue here, more even than what people have said, as the main point, is talking about big buildings and what kind of city Ann Arbor is. I'm reminded of something that came out on McSweeney's last month called "The Problem with My City is that it's a city." Tens of thousands of people come into Ann Arbor to work every day. What we see in our cityscape is false. It's hiding all of the people who wish that they could be here. We need housing. We also need social infrastructure, like a library does. Is that including my extra
That's
30
including
seconds?
your extra 30
Okay.
seconds.
No matter what, the library lane is an inhospitable place. That's what I've learned living in Ann Arbor for 15 years. Concrete downtown is hot and disgusting in the summer, and it's cold and windy in the winter. If we want to gather in a place like that, we should be working on improving West Park. I want everything that will come from a large library downtown. Thank you.
taking up people's time. All right, Con.
Hi, my name is Vince Crusoe, 40-year living in Ann Arbor with two kids here. Both have graduated.
You need to be closer to the mic.
Okay, close to the mic. Yeah, so I had two kids growing up here. They moved on, unfortunately, but hopefully they'll come back. And I just can't understand how a city that tends to say that it's way ahead of every other cities about managing the city, having a good city, why we don't have a downtown center that's a park. I mean, you go to even just the cities near Ann Arbor all have central parks that the people can go and sit and bring their kids, bring their grandkids. They can sit, they can talk, they can do whatever. They don't have to go buy food. They don't have to go into a restaurant or wherever. It's a park that's the community owns, and it should be made available for people who are wanting to sit, relax, talk to their neighbors. It's a huge benefit to the city, and I can't believe that we are not promoting that and moving forward to do it. It's been fought back and forth, and I think it's clear that this is not the way that cities should be run. I think if you ask any city planner, they would say having open space in the downtown center location makes a huge difference for the city. And people feel like they own the city and they have access to it. So I think hopefully people will vote to keep what we have and improve it. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question about the fact that we should have, why don't we have open space in our downtown? And I'm not sure, folks may not know what my day job is. It's with the Rails to Trails Conservancy. So I work across the Midwest, working to build open spaces and in communities all across the Midwest. And we do indeed have open space in our downtown. On that block, we have Liberty Plaza, and I talked about how we had invested in that since COVID. Public spaces are absolutely important. It's one of the reasons you're seeing the DDA investing so much into our downtown infrastructure. There's a sense that streets serve as public spaces now, not just for cars, but for all of us. And so that's why you're seeing them closed off to automobile traffic during big chunks of our downtown. COVID taught us a lot of things, and one of them is how to use public spaces differently. And so I think what you've seen is a net gain substantially in the public space since 2020 downtown. But what we're also seeing is a strong interest, just like in the Civic Center. And so we're hearing loudly, and that was also part of the 2018 ballot proposal. That is the language there, and that's the feedback that we've received, and this is what we've been moving forward with.
Okay,
So,
hi, my name is Sarah Ellenstrom.
I'm sorry.
Hold it. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, but the question came, or the statement came from the con side, and I'd like to respond if possible.
I thought the question was, you could ask a question of either side, but
You
if
can
you
answer
were
a
pro or
question
anti,
from
you
either
could
side.
unmute the mic.
So it's all right. Okay, Pro.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Sarah Ellen Strongman. I moved here in 2018 to start a job at the University of Michigan. I came from Philadelphia, where I had been going to graduate school. Philadelphia has some green space, but it doesn't have great public funding for infrastructure. There's a lot of trash right downtown, right off Rittenhouse Square, because of a huge issue with a lack of tax base. There's a huge amount of land, whatever. Coming to Ann Arbor, I was struck not only by the quaintness of the city, there are things that are small, but its vibrancy, the people who were here. And so I was really surprised when reading for the first election that I was eligible to vote in here, that there was a vote for a public park. I said, great. So I read MLive, I read the Ann Arbor Observer, I looked online, and what I found, including a series of interviews that the Observer did with pro and con individuals, was that people didn't want their condo view blocked. People were afraid of large buildings. And that some of the promises that were being made simply weren't possible without a huge amount of funding, that there was not a plan put forward to do. I was wondering, could could the Library Green proponents tell me how much money they have raised, and have they raised enough money to even fund the RFP to commission a plan for the park? And second, how many millions of dollars would it cost to build a park on top of Library Lane, especially given that so much of the space cannot be actually actively constructed upon, and that it sounds like putting soil, trees, and certain structures on some parts of the lot would in fact void the city's warranty. Thank you.
Thank you. The Library Green raised $70,000 and pledged $70,000. We raised more than that. We raised money to match what the city offered of $40,000, and that was to run the RFP. The RFP would be used to determine the budget, the design, the management process, and the budget for the downtown park. That's where that information was.
So the RFP costs $80,000?
It was going to cost $111,000, $110,000, whatever. Close to that, 120, in that range. That was going to be the cost of the RFP, which we never got written because it was never taken up. And I'm sorry to say, there were a lot of interferences with getting that process going. As you know, Erica, we've talked about that quite a bit. So what we need, excuse me, so what we really need in this area is something to serve the many people that are going to be moving into this more densifying area. That we're having a Port Spaces building at at 333 West William, there's going to be library spaces with housing. There's nearby the Y lot will be having housing. There are a lot of people who can be served by having a downtown park, and this is perfect for them. And the design of the park, whether green or hardscape, both kinds can work. That requires engineering and studying of the status of this. There are successful downtown plazas and parks that are hardscape. I showed you Cincinnati's Fountain Square. There's the on top of a parking structure, and the Post Office Square in Boston. Both are beautiful. That one is green, one's hardscape. So both can be successful.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more thing. No, I have one more thing that's important, because the entire basis of fundraising in this context is you have to have an MOU, period, full stop, every time. This city refused to sign one, and to be constantly condemned, the Library Green and proponents, that they didn't fundraise to the extent necessary is totally on the city blocking the MOU. Look at the skate park. The skate park had an MOU. They raised money from the state, the county, matching funds, and the city coughed up $100 grand when they missed their funding deadline because the city wanted the skate park. This, they did exact opposite. And that is why it's impossible to fundraise without that. And the city denied even a chance. That needs to be said.
Okay. He's right.
I realize this is a contentious issue. We're not going to be able to hear from anybody, everybody. So it's getting close to 8 o'clock. We will hear one more con, one more pro, and we will be done. So, ma'am.
My name is Tricia Hackney. I'm a media specialist, retired. So I was with the public schools. I'm very pro-library, obviously, very pro-union. However, I was disturbed by your presentation when you showed examples of New York City and Chicago. New York City has 8.48 million people living in it. Chicago has 2.748 million people. We are a city of 112,000. If you double, my point is build a structure appropriate for the city. And I also believe in balance. And I think that's what the park is about. And this whole business of building these skyscrapers for affordable housing is a joke. And the reason it's a joke is because the developers can't afford to build affordable housing and make the kind of money they need to make. There will not be affordable housing there. I do hope the library gets some kind to renovate and do some things. I mean, my life has been the library. But I believe in balance too. And thank you for your time, everyone.
I'd like to make a quick correction. I have to make a correction. It's possible to work with nonprofit developers whose entire purpose is building affordable housing. We have in Ann Arbor Avalon Housing. They work around the county. And the idea would be that we could work with a partner that develops affordable housing that will remain affordable, and we can also work with another partner that would build profitable housing. It's not, you can't say that it's a fact that there will never be affordable housing here. It's just not true.
Okay, we're going to stop right there. Okay, one more on the pro.
Hi, this is Alex Lowe. I'm pro-library, pro-park, and believe the AADL has shown their ability to create a welcoming public space, indoors or outdoors, greatly exceeds anything the Library Green Conservancy or Council of the Commons has dreamt. And they can complement the Liberty Plaza, the park that's already on the block. Before my question, I want to correct two pieces of misinformation. First, Laborers Local 499 is not a Lansing union. Its headquarters, in fact, is on Platte Road within Ann Arbor city limits and walking distance from my house. I also want to point out that having another election 7 years later is hardly overriding the will of the voters. We have new elections for city council every 4 years. Is that overriding the will of the voters too? The question I have, which I would like to address to the council member on the panel, is fairly simple. Mr. McKee keeps talking about a $10 million value. Without amending the city charter, how much money could the city sell the library lot for?
We are not allowed to sell the library lot. So there's, this is not a $10 million asset for the city. It's
zero.
It's zero. But certainly the proposal will bring in tax revenue through the new housing.
All right, I'm going to turn this back over to our league president, Catherine.
I'd like to thank our panelists, thank everybody here for coming out. I'm proud to live in a city that cares about issues like Ann Arbor does. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Zion Lutheran Church for hosting this event. Having such an accessible space has served us so well tonight. Note that the recording of tonight's panel will be available on our website, and I've been in contact with CTN, and I'm sure they'll show it as well. Once we get the video up, give us a few days. It'll be on lwbwashtenaw.org. And I just wanted to point out, too, that vote411.org has information on voting in this election and any election, both locally and nationally. Early in-person voting begins on Wednesday, July 30th, and ends on Sunday, August 3rd. So the schedule is a little bit different than it was for the presidential election, but there's 5 days of early voting, and the sites for early voting are on display over at the table. And remember that all voters are eligible to cast an absentee ballot, and Michigan law provides for election day registration. Whether by absentee ballot or in person, please vote in the August 5th election. Thank you and have a good evening.